The monthly report is the variance analysis report, which sort of indicates that year to date we're at 78.2% in terms of collections against a 60.9% expenditure. We are in better shape than we were at this point in 13. Hopefully, as we get to the end of the year, even with our accruals, we will be able to maintain and add to our fund balance for the general operating budget.
Thank you, Dr. Bell. Is there any discussion? Mr. Cole?
So just a couple of quick questions. One's very high level, one's tactical. On the first question, just a general statement in terms of our expenditures for the year. It's a little bit tough to compare year to year. Is your best estimate that we're on track to meet the amended budget at the highest level right now, or are we looking to run ahead or behind that amended budget at this point?
Okay, we ran some end of March numbers, and so I'm going to take it a month later, okay? On an 8 out of 12 month basis, March would be, of course, 75% on a straight line basis. As of the end of March, our projected position for the budget with accruals was about 70.1%, okay? So that's behind a straight line 75. And when I say we're at 70.16% with commitments and accruals, okay, some of that won't get spent. So I think we're in pretty good shape to, as I've always said, underspend the expense side of the budget and hopefully collect more than the anticipated revenue side of the budget.
Just one.
Mr. Chairman, for Mr. Coleman, if we are to his question, Dr. Bill, could you convert that into actual dollars? I know the public is hearing percentages, but they don't have access to the documents that we do. And it would make much more sense to the viewing audience if you converted the percentages in terms of expenditures as well as collections to dollars. Would that help, Mr. Coleman? I know the board members get it, but I'm not sure the public does.
Let's see here.
As it relates to expenditures to date as well as projections and so forth.
I don't have the revenue component updated through March, so I would stick with the February indication in the monthly financial report. But the targeted accrual expenditure amount would be $536.2 million out of the 764. Okay? We're just about right on top of that for the end of March, which is 1 month later than, of course, we're showing in the monthly financial. The actual expenditure in February, as you can see from the first page of your report, was $465.3. Okay? So we're actually expending, I think, pretty well behind the budgeted rate.
And then I had a more detailed question just to make sure I understood it. And this is a small point on page 8, the interest payments.
Yes, sir.
I asked about this briefly and I misunderstood something. We're coming back to it. I just wanted to check in on the year-to-date expenses because we're running about 90% of our scheduled interest payments right now. My understanding is that TAN interest payments would be front-loaded, so that would be expected. Just for my own edification, we have an amended budget of $500,000 for interest payments, which I understand included the TANs and the textbook leases. Are we still on track essentially for that budget, and we're just running, because right now we're running at 90% of that essentially? Is that because it was front-loaded with the TAN interest expenses for the beginning of the year?
When you say front-loaded, interest on municipal debt is generally paid twice a year. The principal is paid once a year. We've made the TAN interest payment on December 16th.
Yeah.
Okay, the next interest payment on on the textbook lease will not occur until July. So we ought to hold this position pretty well. What I'm saying is there's not another scheduled interest payment that would impact that line within
So
this
this should
fiscal year.
represent our final,
It should.
final total for the fiscal year.
Yes. When we get to July, when we make another interest payment, the question is going to be how we might accrue for that.
And you put it in previous year's budget.
Or does it stay in 15?
Okay.
Mr. Campbell?
Dr. Bill, I have a very simple question. If you don't know the answer, you can send it to me in email, that's fine. On page 7, when you look at maintenance and operation expenses, the breakout of other costs, $1.1 million spent actually versus $654,000 last year. I know we talked about last month, you got some, I can't remember exactly what those other costs consist of.
I'm sorry, I'm not finding the line you're talking about.
Page 7,
Page 7,
maintenance and operation expenses,
I see maintenance and operations,
other costs.
other costs, okay.
Paid $1.1 million versus $654 million last year.
I see that.
What's driving the variance for this month?
I have to check on that
You can send it to me
exactly.
in email, no, that'll be fine.
Yes, sir, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Mr. McMahon?
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Bill, on the vendor spend, I sent an email asking on the URS coding, unknown code. Is there any explanation for that?
I'm sorry, I didn't see that email, but I can check into it.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Coleman?
And one last question, just because, as I was on page 7, Mr. Campbell was pointing to, this is an open question, and I don't know the answer to this actually. For our energy expenditures for the year, obviously it's been an unusually cold winter, et cetera. I noticed we're running a little bit ahead of where we were in the previous year in terms of percent of the budget. It's been allocated on page 7 for energy. Do we anticipate running much ahead of the amended budget just because of conditions, or do you think we're actually still fairly in line?
Well, you know, if I'm on the right line, when you say energy, you're taking in natural gas and electricity?
Yeah.
The amended budget being $17,300,000.
Yep.
Seeing that year-to-date, we spent 63.8%, I think we'll be in online, but we'll see what happens when the cold weather flow-through takes place.
No further questions. Is there any opposition to placing this item on the consent agenda? Hearing none, this item will be placed on the consent agenda.